his wife of nearly 58 years, Ruth, told us that Maury's love for his industry is very palpable. She quickly added that she is very happy she met him a couple of years before he got involved with this industry, because if not, she would have had some terribly vicious competition on her hands. His two sons, Michael and Stephen, have become successful devotees of their respective careers, no doubt, from watching their father all these years and learning from his mastering of his skills. Maury is a proud grandfather as well, doting over his 4 grandchildren with every opportunity he has to spend time with them. A once made and often quoted characterization of our industry by Maury is, and I quote again, "This industry rises much higher than any company. The whole is much more important than the parts." Well, Maury, I'll tell you, I believe it could be said that our industry would not be whole at all had it not been for your part that you played. On behalf of the ASA Executive Committee, and with the gratitude of every member of the industry whose life you have touched, it is my honor to present the Fred V. Keenan Lifetime Achievement Award to you, my buddy and friend, Mr. Maurice Bestos.
You know, it's very tough to speak after this wonderful tribute from a guy I have admired so much over the years, John Martin. What a great guy who has survived so much adversity and has done so many things. And for him to show the love and whatever gratitude I deserve or don't deserve, every word he spoke was a word of truth. I want to just talk about an incident that happened to me that formed my lifetime love affair with this industry. There are really 2 things. First of all, I totally dedicate myself to the distributors of this industry. I'm not excluding anyone. I'm saying I saw early on when I joined Hammond at the age of 26 and then rose very quickly within the ranks, that the people that were making things happen on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month, year-to-year basis were the distributors. As I say, I'm not circumventing what everybody else did also. But the generations as they passed, you know, 56 years, from 1956 to now, 56 years is an awful long time. So you begin to meet sons, you even meet grandsons. One case, it's a little kind of a funny anecdote. One of the young people in the industry came to me and they said, "We've heard so much about you, it's such a great honor to meet you. And could you tell me what you did to really create this wonderful career that you've put together?" I said, "Well, there's really 3 things. First of all, being around more than 50 years at the time, it's a long time to be around and you meet a lot of wonderful people. Secondly, I've had great experiences. Not all great, some were, you know, like anybody, there were some adversities here and there, but by and large, it's been a wonderful life. And it's been a matter of that I do not consider what I do in this industry work or taking time. It's my life. I love this industry and it's my family. I look around the room, I know I would say 70–80% of the people I look at here I've seen somewhere along the way. And I must admit, the industry has taken up the bulk of my love for business and being still active in the industry. Now, the one thing about getting a lifetime award, it usually comes at the end of a career. You know, after 56 years, you know, I'm going to be 84 years old. You say, well, you know, work well done and sail into the sunset and have a good time. Well, I'm going to got some news for you. I've just begun to fight, and I'm going to fight for this industry for a heck of a long more time. I guarantee that. So I want to reassure all of you, this is a wonderful interlude. It's the greatest thing that has ever happened to me in my life. You know, I have been fortunate. I've got a lot of awards, and they're great. In fact, my wife said, listen, we're going to have another room in the house to store all the awards you've gotten from the Scouts, from the University of Illinois, from the military officers, the Distinguished Eagle Scout. You know, these are all wonderful things, but they don't compare with this industry because you're my peers. And when you get an award of this magnitude from the people that you love and you work with, that is worth more than everything else put together. Now, the last thing I want to tell you, two things. One, I owe everything about the fast rise of my career to people that you may not even have heard about, and it's a shame. After years, names tend to fade. Jim Perry. How many of you remember Jim Perry? Jim Perry was the real father of the American Supply Association. He was the one that put together the Central Supply Association and the American Institute of Supply Association. It's a group of regionals that came together. He was a tough guy. Some people called him an authoritarian, even a tyrant, but that was what was necessary. And in 1970, he brought it together, and I was privileged and honored that he chose me as one of his advisors to make this happen. And the most important thing in my own personal career, whatever success I've had, there were people behind me. I stood on the shoulder of many people that were kind enough and supportive enough of me to help me get along. Link Pierce. Any of you remember Link Pierce? One of the great people in the history of this industry. I can name many other. Horace Riggs of Crane Supply. George Brecht of Ajoka. These are people, you know, I don't want to go through a list of names, but these people saw what I was doing and appreciated the fact that this was not done just for personal furtherance, but I really was having a passionate love affair with industry. And there was an incident that happened to me early in my career that formed my basic attitude. And this was a phone call that I got from a man by the name of Chuck Kennedy, who was the owner of Kennedy Valve. By the way, in those days, almost every major manufacturer was privately owned. Those were the days before the conglomerates, before the acquisitions, the state problems, whatever it created. And I'm not here to disdain that. I think this is the way it's happened in industry generally. But I was called by Kennedy, and at that time I was 30 years old and I was really having a good time. In 1916, part of the good time was taking business away from some of the big boys, you know, Crane, Walworth, Lunkenheimer, Jenkins, Powell, Stockton. And that was, you know, part of the business. So I was a little suspicious. Why would Chuck Kennedy call me? Just a little guy trying to make an honest living. And these are big guys that dominated the industry. So I came to New York, I walked in the room, and there were 12 people sitting there, older people. And I said, I'll bet you what those guys want to do, they want to get me in such a way that they're going to shackle me so I can't go out and do the kind of job I want to do. He said something to me, and the rest of the group concurred, and I will never forget this moment.